Now we turn to a historic step in normalizing ties between Cuba and the United States. After more than 5 decades, U.S. President Barack Obama and his Cuban counterpart, Raul Castro, confirm that formal diplomatic relations will resume on July the 20th. Roy Rottenberg has the details.
The Cuban interest section in Washington has represented Havana in the U.S. for decades. Officially under Swiss care, it's offered Cubans working here diplomatic protection and will soon return to its original status as a full embassy. This follows Wednesday's historic announcement, literally down the street at the White House, where U.S. President Barack Obama said the future should not be held hostage to the past.
Instead of supporting democracy and opportunity for the Cuban people, our efforts to isolate Cuba, despite good intentions, increasingly had the opposite effect, cementing the status quo and isolating the United States from our neighbors in this hemisphere.
Obama also urged Congress, which will need to approve his choice of ambassador to Havana, to remove sanctions on the island nation, and confirm that his top diplomat, John Kerry, will travel to Cuba later this month. Speaking in Vienna, Kerry said obstacles remain, but there are areas where the two sides can start working together.
The United States and Cuba continue to have sharp differences over democracy, human rights, and related issues, but we also have identified areas for cooperation that include law enforcement, safe transportation, emergency response, environmental protection, telecommunications, and migration.
Recent polls show the majority of Americans support Obama's move.
I'm happy what's happening now. I really am happy. These divisions we've put up against between ourselves, between peoples, between nations, between ethnic groups, between genders, is just another sign that the human race has a little bit further to go before they can really say they're civilized.
At least 2 U.S. senators of Cuban descent, both with presidential aspirations, are leading a Republican backlash, saying they'll work to block White House efforts. When Kerry arrives in Havana, it'll be the first visit to Cuba by a U.S. Secretary of State since 1945, even though the two countries have coastlines that are less than 200 kilometers apart. No word yet from the White House on if or when the U.S. president may make that journey. Roy Rottenberg, CCTV in Washington.